So today we've been working on going fully Energy Star with Pointe Homes, and today we have one of the pioneers with Energy Star, Mr. Javier Ruiz. Javier, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you, Mario. Thank you, Carlos, for having me. My name is Javier Ruiz. I'm the president for Senercon, Southwest Energy Conservation.
Okay.
And we've introduced our services back in 2004. So this year is our 20th anniversary for providing services for the builders, architects in the community here around El Paso, from all the way from Van Horn all the way to Denver, New Mexico. And so we've been doing this for a long time. And mainly it's energy efficiency inspections and consulting for performance-based enhancements on the homes.
Okay. Performance-based enhancements for the home. For the regular person that's just watching this, what does Energy Star mean to them? Because they're going to start seeing a lot of our marketing material, a lot of the commercials, a lot of everything that we're going to be promoting Energy Star. But somebody that just sees this on their news feed says Energy Star. So what? What does that mean?
Yeah, so a little bit of background on Energy. What's Energy Star, right? Energy Star, it's a program that is out of the EPA, from the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States. And their main goal is to develop certain efficiency standards and to reduce energy consumption. And by reducing energy consumption, you reduce our carbon footprint. So it is, they started first with appliances and like refrigerators, computers, faxes, copy machines. And then in the 90s, late 90s, they did a pilot to make homes more energy efficient, and they come up with the Energy Star program for home certification. And the main goal was to reduce the carbon footprint on the energy usage of the house, because people don't know, but your average house produces twice as much carbon footprint than your average car. So it is by reducing the energy consumption and improving energy efficiency and the house stocks that are run or across the US, then you reduce the demand to the power plants, and these power plants reduce emissions.
Okay. So Energy Star basically is going green in simpler terms.
It's the number one step towards going green.
Okay.
And studies have shown that a more energy efficient home is a more comfortable home
Okay.
and more durable homes, right? Because as we're using the energy more consciously and efficiently, your equipment, your HVAC, your water heaters, the comfort of your homes enhances. And so it's usually less maintenance and more durable.
So with that being said, we have Carlos Villalobos here, the owner and builder for Pointe Homes. Tell us a little bit of why you chose to go the Energy Star route with the homes that you're going to be building this year, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with Javier for many, many years. We did have a recent energy code adoption in Texas, which was starting January. Texas adopted the 2021 energy code, which makes the standards more stricter standards. There's several ways to comply. There's an infinite number of ways to comply, actually. One of which is certifying the Home Energy Star. And for several reasons, that's what we decided to do. One of them, you know, that we always like to do a hard, basically OSB shell on our homes, right? I don't like the flimsy foam. So that's one of the reasons why, in order for us to keep our basic structural shell of the home, if you will, Energy Star was the way to go for us. So, talking to Javier with the new adoption, we've actually been talking about this for over a year because we knew it was coming, and we explored all the different options, and then we ended up with this route, basically.
Okay. Now, when we say Energy Star, what exactly are we doing to the Pointe Homes that makes us Energy Star?
Okay, so basically, when you choose the performance method, which is one of these, our main changes are going to be, we're going all foam. Okay, so we're going to do foam on all of the exterior envelope of the home. We're going to basically go to a tankless water heater, a high efficiency furnace, and higher rated SEER HVAC system, basically, and being energy rated, right? So those are the four main differences or changes we're going to do to our product.
Okay. And what do you see in that particular change that he's talking about, those four major changes? What do you see in regards to efficiency when a consumer purchases the home?
Oh, the as Carlos was mentioning, there's many different ways to comply,
Mm-hmm.
reach the Energy Star level. So not all Energy Star homes are being built the same. Different builders choose different paths because when you go and certify a home as an Energy Star, it's a system-based approach
Okay.
where it's not just about insulation or not just about the windows or the refrigerator or the water heater. Now you analyze and put all the things together, and we model through software what is the best, most cost-effective option, and what also aligns with the builder preferences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to build with certain materials, so just because it's getting a home to certain standards, it also needs to be in line with what the builder wants to offer and want to differentiate among their competitors, right? So it is when we started analyzing Pointe's homes, we model many dozens of different options, different insulation, different mechanical equipment, different strategies, and based on what Pointe decided, so like this is the actual product that we want to provide to our buyers,
Mm-hmm.
and so it is very particular to them. Of course, many others can copycat that, but it is one of the most cost-effective approaches, and that work for Pointe Homes.
Okay. Now, you said this is a conversation about a year in the making, right? Going back and forth with the different, things that have to take place and the different items that you're going to ultimately go for with the Energy Star. Why did you choose? Let's start off with the envelope of the home, right? Spray foam on the exterior walls of the home and the ceiling cavity, correct?
Yeah.
Why did you choose that route?
Well, it was a very challenging process because of the infinite number of ways you can achieve, So it was very hard. I'm a firm believer that when you work hard enough to solve the complicated problems, basically the answers just start falling into place. Basically, it answers itself. And that's how I feel we kind of came about this. One of the bigger challenges is that, again, I don't like doing foam exclusively for the sheathing. So the new code requires an R15 basically for the exterior wall of the home. And that became a challenge because you either have to go to a 2x6 or you need to have a double sheathing. So that was one of the challenges. So as as Javier said, every builder has their preferences. As you cement certain preferences, then it's like an equation. Then you need to work on the other variables and you need to start, kind of closing in on the solution. And it's complicated because it's definitely a cost value approach. And, it's like finding the low hanging fruit in different areas, right? I'm a big fan of the diminishing marginal return curve. And you'll see that certain solutions have high value at first per dollar.
Mm-hmm.
There's $20 that you invest are going to get you very far. But then later, the dollar performance ratio starts, going down really fast. So it's really finding in the different areas. For me, it was finding where this sweet spot is, the most bang for the buck, and then you go for it. One of the main things that we decided with foam is to have all of the ducts in the conditioned space. So a normal traditional attic or a roof, the way it functions is basically you have the roof cavity and then you have the insulation over the drywall of the home, making the attic a hot space. So it gets sun all day, and normal older attics are super hot if you go up there, and you don't want to have that oven on top of your home, right? Fighting against the insulation. So when you do foam and you insulate the roof deck with the foam, then you don't get the heat inside of your home.
Hmm.
And your air ducts are within conditioned space, and that's a lot of value right there. So that was a no-brainer. Remember also, I don't like flat roofs that much.
Hmm.
All of our roofs are slope roofs. That's another one of my fixed variables that, is basically you can't move it, so work around that kind of deal. So it just made sense, right? And that's one of the reasons why we decided to basically insulate the entire building envelope with foam, and I think that's the main feature of, or the centerpiece of our new strategy, because what that does is there's also a measure in the new energy code. They started looking at basically air exchanges that measure the tightness of the building envelope, right? So you pressurize a home, and then you need to have less than 3 air exchanges per hour, meaning that with a certain amount of pressure,
Hmm.
the home will have, if it has more than 3 air exchanges of the entire volume of the home in 1 hour, then it doesn't pass, right? So foam really helps you do that. One of the main benefits of foam is, the fact that it seals very well. So you have a very solid, impermeable, if you will, building
And
envelope.
adding to that is by doing this spray foam, you're aligning your thermal barrier
Hmm.
as insulation and your air barrier in perfectly alignment. Because in order for insulation to work, it needs to have an air barrier alignment.
Hmm.
So that's why, like in the roofs with a traditional house, you have to put in 12, 13, 14 inches of insulation
Hmm.
because it's only aligned with a single air barrier. Whereas in the wall, on all 6 sides, right? And our 15 on the walls.
Hmm.
But when you do spray foam, since the foam itself, it's an air barrier as well, then it's in perfect alignment. You don't need 14 inches of spray foam.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
performance it is just more advantageous
Hmm.
and easier to execute. And going back to cost effectiveness, just as Carlos mentioned, there's a point where if I go from an R15 wall to an R30 wall, I don't improve my efficiency twice as much. I
Hmm.
only improve it by about 3%.
Okay.
Why put in an R30 wall when I only get a 3% improvement?
Hmm.
So you have to do a balance and in cost because it's easy to do a very expensive efficient home
Okay.
because you're just throwing money in and it's just like let's hope someone can afford it. But you need to measure is like, okay, this is a cost effective approach that is going to provide cash flow positiveness to the homeowner.
Of
Like,
course.
if the builder is spending $1 extra or $5 extra or 1,000, is looking to also have a benefit for whomever is going to be living in the house. So that's why it takes time to come up with the right formula
Exactly.
because it's just not throwing money
Hmm.
to make it more efficient.
Of course. And that's, we go back to the fact that we spoke about, you guys have been in talks about this for a long time until you finally came to, the four key components among other things that we were already doing in the build, right? You talked about a home being more comfortable, right? Being able to enjoy your home. What are some of the major differences that you've noticed from homeowners in these Energy Star rated homes and maybe homes that weren't before?
Number one is, as adding to Carlos, is air changes. Your average existing home, not another new home, your average building stock in El Paso,
Hmm.
it has an average 12 to 16 air changes per hour.
What does an air exchange mean?
So it is, imagine this
Room.
this
Mhm.
room. Imagine you're trying to keep it at 70 degrees or 75. So it's so leaky that in 1 hour, all this conditioned space within this area is going to be exchanged 12 to 15
Six.
times.
Oh, okay.
So by making it with a tree, which is healthy, is now you don't have to heat or cool that conditioned air 15 times. It's only no more than 3 times.
Hmm.
And so it's a house, an energy efficient house becomes a less drafty house
Hmm.
and less noisy house if the wind is is blowing, and all of a sudden you hear in a drafty house like the windows making noises and just feeling drafty. That's part of being an inefficient home. An Energy Star home is properly sealed and has less air changes. And by not having those air exchanges, your mechanical equipment doesn't have to work as hard.
Of course.
And and that leads me to right size mechanical equipment, the HVAC. So every Energy Star home has a right size HVAC system.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if in an older home, you're in a 2,000 square foot home may have 5 or 6 tons of cooling. Well, it probably needs them because you're getting 8, 9, 10 air changes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
In a more efficient home, now you don't need a 5 or 6 ton.
Probably need a 3-ton.
Exactly, because
Mhm.
it needs to work less. It demands less electricity, and is just more comfortable because with lesser movement, it's less noise and more comfort. So
Okay.
I think we've all experienced you're watching Netflix and your air conditioning turns on, and all of a sudden you have to
Turn it up or turn it down, yeah.
That's a too high or too big of a unit. But in an Energy Star home, all of a sudden you don't even hear it.
Okay.
So it's like it's little details that homeowners they're gonna start experiencing. Is it's just more comfortable. It's less noisy, less drafty. So that's
Not only comfort, I also hear that there is some energy savings, right? Carlos mentioning the fact that now your air condition, your ductwork is in conditioned space. You have a smaller unit, probably because you don't need such a big unit. Of course, a larger unit pulls more electricity, things like that. What kind of savings do you see with people making these changes?
Energy Star homes, and they are rated based on the Hertz index. Hertz index is home energy rating system. It's a score from 0 to 100. When you hear a zero energy home, that means that it's a Hertz of 0, which means that it produces as much energy that it consumes.
Mm-hmm.
And a home that gets a 0, well, has 0 impact to the grid. But a home that gets 100, well, it uses 100% of the energy that it was intended to consume.
Okay.
And so it's a tabulation that is based out of like the entire stock in the UX homes.
Mm-hmm.
And in El Paso, we did a study about 10 years ago for El Paso Electric when we rated, I don't know, remember probably 400 or 500 houses.
Mm-hmm.
And in existing homes, the average Hertz for an existing home was about 160 to 190 Hertz index. This is the base we tested it, we analyzed them, we did the entire study
Mm-hmm.
of El Paso Electric. And they're like, oh, your average home in El Paso is 60% less efficient than the average national or compared to newer houses. So when you also decide to buy a new home, well, now it is just like, do I want to pay $300 a month or do I want to pay $100 a month in electricity? So the savings, let's say now, and I think Pointe Homes on average they're getting 50 Hertz index or below.
15?
50.
50? Okay.
So it is 50. So that means that it's 50% more energy efficient compared to your average national house.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden it's like, well, now we're talking real savings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes some homes, depending on the floor plan and location, we've been seeing like in the 40s.
Okay.
And then once you get in the 40s, the only way to go towards a lower Hertz index is probably adding renewable energy, like solar, electric or solar turbine. But that's just, you don't want to put in solar in an energy hog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like putting makeup. You're not solving the real issue.
Mm-hmm.
You're not solving the comfort issue, the savings issue. Yes, solar is great, but first, a dollar for dollar, energy efficiency is the first way to go. Because for every dollar that I save in electricity with energy savings, I have to spend $3 or $4 more from renewables. So it's like, well, first I'll do more insulation, I'll improve my windows, my HVAC, everything else, and then okay, now I maximize my energy efficiency. Then let's move towards renewable.
Okay.
Because it is why just putting some more solar panels, right?
Exactly.
You can always do that, but in the future, leave that for the future.
Okay. Yeah. And talking about the dollar per dollar, right? Because on the builder side, it's something that the builder has to be very conscious of, right? The margins, the margins that you have from contribution, commissions, everything that goes into the sale of the home, right? If you're in some areas, we've been noticing crisis, right? And in some areas where we're doing the Energy Star and other builders are not, how are you doing, or what would be your message to the consumer when competing in those areas, maybe against, another builder that is not doing the same thing Energy Star than you are, but they're offering similar sized home, maybe $15,000 less expensive than yours? What is your message to that consumer?
Well, you'll probably save it with your energy bills, right? It's hard for us to commit a certain number of savings because it's just the usage is so varied, and families use houses in a variety of different ways. But more than likely, interest rates the way they are, you're long term you're going to end up saving more money within a more energy efficient home, and just overall the value of the home will be better. Basically it's, when you say dollar per dollar, not only an Energy Star, I guess our job as business owners is always to try to maximize the value for the customer. And that's our formula as builders, right? We each have our formula. And I believe that our job is to maximize the value for the customers. And we do the same exact thing as far as the energy efficiency goes. We try to put the money where you get the most bang for your buck, if you will. And, if, like Javier says, if we're at 50%, you're saving, your energy usage is half of what an average home is. Well, you know how much your energy bills will be. So basically, the home is one of your biggest investments. That would be my message. You're going to end up saving more and your utility bills, and you'll just have a better home and more comfortable home because, out of the benefits right now, we did mention the noise. You're going to hear less noise, especially with a house like Foam. We're in the desert, so houses get dusty. There will be less dust, less air intrusion into a sealed home, especially when you have a foam envelope. It's basically like your house is a little cooler, right? It's basically a very similar material that's used in coolers. So you have a little tight, a tight cooler in your home. So less dust, less noise, better air quality altogether. And, that's what you want for your family.
Yeah. And we also adding to that, we've done analysis both for for the builders and for the appraisers. And we've shown that an Energy Star home, whatever price increase or the difference versus a non-Energy Star home, the extra cost on a monthly payment on your mortgage is usually less than your savings. So it means that you're saving more.
You're saving more money than what you're going to pay.
But let's say the house is $1,000 or $2,000, whatever extra, the energy savings always offset the extra monthly mortgage payment. That is the nice thing about energy efficiency in new homes. If you want to do the same level of efficiency as a retrofit, it's impossible. It is whereas in a new home you'll spend $2,000, on a retrofit you'll spend $10,000 to achieve the same level of efficiency. That's why is energy efficiency is the low hanging fruit, especially in new construction. And it always pays you back.
Definitely.
And one thing I would add to that is that, anybody that does rental properties knows the time value of money, inflation, right? Because what's going to happen with energy bills from now to 20, 30 years, they're going to keep going up with inflation. Whereas your energy efficiency, whatever you put into the home, it's today's dollars. You freeze it with a 30-year loan and you don't have to pay it again, today's dollars. So that investment is at $2,024, and you're going to see energy savings for the rest of your life, which later, as inflation happens, that investment becomes very small. So basically, you have the time value of money and inflation in your favor when you do that. Because, like, if you foam your house, you're going to have those energy savings forever. And that house could last 60, 80, 90 years. We don't know, right? But
You're talking to the CPA.
that's the financial guy.
Yeah.
So
But it makes sense. It is now on a more like, no, it is just, it was hard for us. Of course, our service is provide this Energy Star certification, right? But we need to justify it. And Carlos was always it's like, no, honey, it just needs to be cost effective. Show me the numbers that it would. So he did his homework, and he's like, not until he was convinced that this is actually feasible and beneficial for him and his home buyers, he was not going to do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's a great thing that you're talking about the efficiency, the benefit to the home buyer. The average, on average, every 7 to 10 years, a buyer gets a new house, right? And then right now we were just talking about the retrofit. Retrofitting a home is basically impossible, right? Because the building codes in 1990, or even you go back 10 years, 2014, the building codes then are not the same probably, right, than the building codes now. So the retrofitting of a home is nearly impossible. Whereas right now, the future is Energy Star. The future of your home is Energy Star, right? And then on top of that, we go back to now, after you go to a 40% HERS, then you start, doing some renewable energy on there and start getting even lower, correct? And that's where I think people are going to see even more savings. They're going to start seeing, because right now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is selling, the solar panels to people. You go into someone's house that was built in the 1960s, and it has, I don't know how many kilowatts or megawatts of solar panels, and it's probably not doing them the service that they were sold, which was, hey,
it is an average. The average house that a Pointe is building should be using anywhere from 7 to 10,000 kilowatt hours a year, and an average home in El Paso is in that is getting solar panels sometimes is using 18, 20, 22,000 kilowatt hours, right? And so it is important to always have energy efficiency in mind. And the solar is great. Solar is becoming very affordable. But in new homes, energy efficiency is just, it's a must, because once the sheetrock goes in, forget about doing the low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. Yeah, it's no longer can you do the low-hanging fruit. So I personally, I believe, I mean, and there's a bias, right? Because I sell the product. But when people at the model homes, when people are seeing out there, and they ask me the same question, that's why I asked the builder here, why should I go with this house versus this other house that they're selling me? Last time a client was like, oh, well, such and such builder is giving me 7% to close on my house. And I told him, hey, with that builder, you should be asking for 15% if you've seen how their homes perform, if you've seen what's behind the walls, because it definitely matters. And throughout our process, one thing I like throughout our process is we have the frame tour, right? So people can come to our homes. Once they've gone under contract, they're going to be able to inspect our homes once they're in frame. Hey, you know what? I don't like these 2x4s that I see here. I noticed that you're starting to spray foam, and they see the process. They get really, really excited about it. And then on top of that, we do an inspection on every single one of our homes once we've completed the home, correct? Why did you add that additional layer of protection? I know we're talking about Energy Star and everything, but why did you add that additional layer of the inspection on every single home before even the client does their inspection, their walkthrough, anything like that?
I mean, you're trying to get as many, you're trying to build the best home you can. So there's a lot of things that go into a home, and unfortunately, we're measured with, there could be 2 million things that go right, and then one thing goes wrong, and that's how you're measured, right? So it's a very strict standard, if you will. So basically, our quality control systems are designed to try and get everything that we can. Our internal systems are geared to get the 90-10, right? The 10% of the things that cause 90% of the problems. And then that way, because it's really hard to get 100, but then you get that other 10%. And then that's why we have the third parties, plus we have the city also that inspects us. So, it gets to a point where it's just quality control. And again, it's one of those things where it's easier to catch before than it is after. So that's why we've decided to, invest heavily into quality control to try and catch any if all errors at their time, and just educate. What that does is that also educates the workforce that, they can't get away with, with cutting corners, because we will see them as much, and then they're gonna have to come back and do it. So it's better to just do it right the first time. So it's a whole culture that you have to develop, and you have the police policing, who's policing the police, and that's why kind of we have a third party plus our internal. At the end of the day, we kind of have three. We have our internal, we have the city, plus a third party. So there's three eyes trying to catch, any if all errors.
And then for Energy Star, it's another process.
That's
So
another
let me add, how do we get a home certified for Energy Star?
Mm-hmm.
So it is not only analyzing all the floor plans materials, but in order for a home to be certified Energy Star, it needs to go through modeling, it needs a set of inspections, performance testing, and then final inspection. So we do 2 inspections during construction. So once we have the model for that particular house and that particular lot, then it's like, we start construction. Then usually add insulation before the sheetrock. We do an insulation inspection to see if the quality of the spray foam insulation, because if it has voids, gaps, then we'll mark it out, and the insulation company needs to come and fix that. So we inspect the quality of the insulation. Then we also do what is called a duct test. We pressure test the duct system. And now that Pointe has ducts in conditioned space, and then the average home has about 18 to 25% duct leakage. That means that 18 to 25% of your electric bill for that is to cooling the attic. So first, we need to make sure that it's less than 6% duct leakage. It's impossible to have
Zero.
It's a zero. Always a gap. But when you have the duct system within conditioned space, now it doesn't matter. It's within the same turmoil. But so we do a duct test to make sure that when the duct system was built, is properly sealed. Then after that, sheetrock goes in. Once the home is completed, then we do a final inspection where we do what is called a blower door test. We open all interior doors. We plug in a piece of equipment. It's a big fan with a cloth door, usually red. And then we depressurize the entire house. And that's how we measure how many air exchanges. And you can actually feel through the outlets, through the windows, any small hole, you're going to feel the infiltration, right? And so we need to make sure that home has less than 3 air changes. So it's not just, I think we have 3 air changes.
No, that's actually testing.
And the beauty of this is that we do that in every single house. It's not a sampling protocol. It's not just 1 out of 7 or 1 out of 15. It's just every house gets those inspections. And if it doesn't meet those, then the builder they don't get that certification. And at this point, with Pointe Home, since they chose their code compliance path to be Energy Star, they don't even get the final inspection from the city if they don't meet that. So it is adding those layers of accountability and quality control that we're also doing that. And in for us, as we're this year is our 20-year anniversary. We've been doing this for a long time. I think we've done a little over about 28,000 homes. In inspection, we've done probably around 80,000 inspections, and between insulation inspections and duct testings and final inspections. So we do this a lot. That's we see like the good, the bad, and the uglies from
Of course.
everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It is, and when we consult with the builders, it's like that is the best path to move forward. And always is like spray foam and the entire shell. That's by far the best approach. Always, it is. Some builders implemented some. They chose a different strategy, but it's you want to do the things that have the most durability and effectiveness.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have anything else to add, Carlos? I know that we talked about, inspection process. We talked about the energy code, the inspections that have to go through the energy code. Anything else that you'd like to add?
I'd just like to throw in there a few little fun facts that that I've learned with Javier and whatnot. Like one of them is more is not better as far as the HVAC system goes. It's very common to see, oh well, if you have 5 tons, then 6 tons is better. And with Javier, I learned that that's not true. When you have a very large system, which is too large for the house, what happens is that when it turns on, then it cools the house too quickly, and then you have your thermostat. So now your thermostat is reading that cool air, so then it turns off. But guess what? All of the surfaces in the house are still warm, right? If a lot of people think that the best way to go is to turn off the air conditioner when you leave the house, and then you come in and you turn it back on. Then you start having those problems. What you actually have to do is leave your house at a constant temperature. Never let it get too hot. And so basically, when you have a very large unit, you're going to have a unit that's turning on and off too often, right? Because continuing on what I was saying, it turns on and then it cools the air real quick, and then the thermostat reads the cool air, and then it turns off, and all of your surfaces are still hot. So then you have a unit that's turning on and off very often, and you're wasting a lot of electricity. So that's why it's very important to actually size the unit correctly, considering all of the elements in the house, and then you have the right unit working correctly in each house.
Going into a little bit of technical, that is when a large system or a large HVAC system is installed, then you do what is called a short cycle. So it's like imagine going from here to Tucson with like accelerate to 70 and they decelerate.
Mm-hmm.
How much imagine doing that?
Yeah, the start and stop of
The
it.
start and stop is when it uses the most. If a unit is 15th here or 16th here, in order for them to reach that efficiency, it needs to run 30 to 40 minutes. So it needs to gradually reach that. And when it reaches that efficiency, it is very easy and very efficient. But if you satisfy your thermostat, because you're not cooling or heating the mass of the house, the sheetrock, the floors, whatever mass you have inside the house, then it's not helping you. So it is the number one thing when homeowners get into one of these houses, like, oh, but my friend has 2-3 tons more. It's just I want the blast of cold air. Well, that's the least you want to have, because not only is it inefficient, but you also reduce the life of the unit itself, because it's short cycle. It never reaches their intended efficiency. So there's always leave your thermostat at a constant temperature, and you'll be very, very pleased.
Awesome. All right, then. Javier, today was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, Carlos. Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure our viewers are gonna are definitely going to learn a lot. And if you have any questions regarding this or any of the other processes we have at Pointe Homes, give us a call, 915-790-1515. Thank you. Boom.